Hi everyone, my name is June and I am a speech and language therapist from Words First. This video is for parents, teachers, or someone who's just starting as a speech and language therapist who may wonder or have ever wondered, what does communication have anything to do with behaviours or mental health? Great question. Today, we are going to unpack this a little bit, and then we're going to talk about what can speech and language therapists bring to the table when it comes to supporting those with social, emotional, and mental health needs. Let's start by refreshing our knowledge. Speech and language therapists work with children and young people, individuals with SLCN, so that stands for speech, language, and communication needs. So that could be children, young people who, in a school context, children, young people who struggle to understand others, who may not be able to explain their thoughts and feelings effectively using words and sentences. Those who may take things literally. Those who may find conversations confusing and overwhelming, and those who may find it hard to navigate complex social situations. We know that many children and young people with SEMH differences also have communication needs. So think about a child or young person you know or you've worked with who misbehaves or shuts down. Could some of that be because they can't navigate language or communication in stressful moments and environments? Here's the thing. When a child seems or a young person seems angry, anxious, when they're being disruptive, withdrawn, sometimes the root is not defiance, it's communication. In fact, behavior is a form of communication. For example, a child might freeze because they don't understand what's being asked of them. So they might not do what they're asked to do, they might not follow the instructions, they might not initiate the task. A child might act out, not because they're being difficult, but because they don't have the words to talk about those big feelings, or they don't have the strategies to regulate and make themselves feel better. A child might not behave in a way that's relevant to the social situation, not because they're trying to be silly, but because they don't really understand the social rules in that situation and they might have misread the situation. In some cases, if a child has experienced trauma or early adversity, the language system can literally switch off when stressed. Plus, many mental health interventions rely heavily on talking or verbal output. If a child has communication needs, they may not be able to fully access or benefit from the support unless we adapt how we talk to them. And we can't really do that without a good understanding of their speech, language, and communication profile. So here comes a good bit. This is how speech and language therapists can work with children and young people with social, emotional, mental health needs in real life. Firstly, we assess and identify how they communicate. We as SALT then tell everyone, teachers, therapists, other professionals, carers, parents, how they understand language, how they understand the world, and how they express themselves best. This way, everyone's on the same page and we're all speaking their language, not just a generic one. Secondly, as SALTs, we develop their speech, language, and communication by supporting them directly. So, for example, providing intervention in a one-to-one or a group setting, or providing in-class support so that they eventually can be involved in decisions about themselves. We believe that everyone should have a voice. So we want to develop their language, their communication. We want to give them tools and strategies so that they can contribute to discussions about them, about their support, and how to get those support. Thirdly, we support the people around the child or the young person. We don't just work with the child or the young person, but we support the people around them so that they can speak clearly, they can use visuals, or they can use strategies to make sure they are being understood correctly, and also to make sure that they are understanding better. As SALTs, we also help build communication-friendly environments for the child or the young person. We advise on how to make an environment, a setting, a space so that it's safe, so that it's encouraging communication. And we don't just advise on these things as add-ons, but they are central to how to the environment. Lastly, we help children and young people to express their health and well-being needs. And this is huge in SEMH. We help children and young people to find the words for their feelings, to support them to advocate and communicate things that help make them feel better, and what they need in terms of emotional well-being, in terms of learning, in terms of language, for them to thrive wherever they are. So why should you care? Because when communication works, we know that behavior improves, children feel heard, emotional regulation gets easier, therapy becomes more effective, and relationships can be built more easily. We don't just fix the talking. We help translate their behaviors so that people understand what they're trying to communicate through their behaviors, and we support their mental well-being as part of a bigger team. And we build the bridges so that the children and the young people can be truly understood. So here are the three things you can do as a parent, as a carer, teacher, or professional to support children and young people with social, emotional, mental health needs from a speech and language therapist. The first one is to make sure that there's clear routine presented, in some case visually, not just visually, not just verbally, at home or in the classroom, to make sure that children and young people know and understand what is expected from them and what they can expect in return. It goes both ways. The second one is for all of us to support children and young people to build their bank of words so that they can use them to talk about how they feel. When I feel that something's not going very well for them, I show curiosity by wondering out loud. I wonder if you're feeling worried today because of your meeting with the social worker this afternoon. And then you can build on that by offering solutions. If I was feeling worried, I would try to take some deep breaths. Dr. Dan Siegel once said, "Name it to tame it." Labeling an emotion as it arises helps reduce its intensity and makes it easier to manage. The third one is definitely for all of us. Use clear and level appropriate language when we communicate with children and young people. We know that many children and young people with SEMH differences also have speech, language, and communication needs. Clear communication prevents overwhelm, it reduces anxiety, and avoids misunderstandings. And don't forget, we all have a part to play in the communication of our children and young people.